Hi, I'm Jen Yockney and welcome to 28 Days of Bisexual History for LGBT History Month. Each day I'm going to be looking at a different piece of bisexual history, memorabilia from my archives of more than 25 years or so of volunteering with bisexual and bi-related projects. Hopefully there'll be some interesting little stories in there along the way, some stuff that catches your eye or your imagination and that shares some of our stories as bisexual people over many, many years. Anything That Moves was a magazine from the United States that ran basically all the way through the 1990s. It was a big chunky magazine. It was about 60 odd pages each issue at a time where Bi Community News, Bi Women, North by Northwest, the equivalent bisexual titles from elsewhere around the world were typically 12 or 16 pages each issue and felt much more lightweight. This was a big chunky tome. Each issue had poetry, artwork, lots of writing by all sorts of different people. Its strapline was that it was the magazine for the fab, glitter, fetish, allies, bisexuals, gays, lesbians, intersex, transsexual, transgender, engendering revolution, if I remember the acronym right, which is a more fun acronym for me, for my mind, than quilt bag. I liked this, but it was impossible to get hold of in Britain. There was a shop in London where you could buy it, but I never saw it on sale. I had to get hold of it through going to buy events or getting copies that people who were throwing them out let me have rather than put in the recycling. It was an inspiration, but it was a fine example of how we do great volunteer-led things and run out of energy, because putting together a magazine this size drains a lot of energy from you. You feel like you run out of ideas, you get distracted by other projects, so it had a kind of nuclear half-life of issues, of the first issue coming out, and then the second issue coming out, and then the third issue coming out, and the fourth issue coming out, and then the fifth, and the sixth, and eventually by issue 20 it had been about a year since the previous edition and they had to say, we've really run out of energy. It stopped publishing in around about 2000, and I guess we'll never see anything quite like it again, because the world has just kind of moved away from print publications in the way that we used to have in those days, being quite such a big part of the queer scene and mainstream culture. I think that's a shame. I really love the feel of old print, the smell of it. You open up an old magazine that's, say, the first issue of Bi Community News, the first issue of Diva you ever read, and it has smell, it has texture. There's a physical experience of remembering who you were when you first read this that you don't get when you look at old pixels. I look at pixels from websites that I used to enjoy in the 1990s on the archive.org site now, and I just think, God, websites looked rubbish back then. It doesn't have the same kind of emotional kick. So Anything That Moves, a fine bit of our culture and history. I hope you enjoyed that little story. There'll be more of these every day for the rest of LGBT History Month, all the way through February. So please hit the little subscribe button just down here, somewhere down there. Punch that one, watch the rest of the videos, stay tuned, and give me your feedback or ideas of things that you think I might manage to include between now and the end of February.